Hey, what's going on everybody? My name's Eric, this is Fatal RPM, and in today's video we're going to be installing the UniClutch Sport Clutch on Miso. So starting out here, really, I'm currently editing this video and we are quite a bit behind, and I'm looking at possibly getting into weekly uploads again here, coming up pretty soon. I have been working on these videos as well as on Miso and a couple other things in the background. And it's just been really, it's been a lot. So I want to thank you guys for still sticking around and continuing to subscribe as you have over the past few months and years, actually. I'm hoping to get you some more content coming out here pretty soon. But I wanted to do a install in a way of kind of step-by-step in the way that I did actually installing the UniClutch on my car. I am in a bit of a unique situation of where my engine is not in the car, so I don't have to drop the transmission or anything to actually install the clutch. But when it comes to kind of putting everything back together and buttoning things back up, it is going to be quite a bit more difficult because I'm pretty sure installing an engine is more complicated than installing a transmission. Actually, that might not be the case, but an engine without the transmission is definitely a little more difficult. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into step one. So the very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to remove your engine about 1.5 years, almost 2 years in advance. That way you can be really sure that this is what you're going to do. That didn't make any sense. Honestly, none of this makes any sense. I'm just saying it really shouldn't have taken this long for me to get this engine back in the car. But hey, here we are. So honestly, I don't know if it's going to be any easier or more difficult. I do know that my process is going to be a bit different, but once you have the transmission out of your car, if your engine is not already out, it's going to be more or less the same process. So once you have your transmission pulled, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull your clutch fork and your throwout bearing, because it's kind of a pain to replace the throwout bearing without the clutch fork already not being installed in the car. Also, there is a clutch fork upgrade that we can do. Unfortunately, at this point in time, I don't have it, so we will not be doing that this time around.
And this bearing doesn't feel the best, so I definitely want to replace it. Okay, the socket maybe? Really? I love it here. I'm gonna use it like this though.
Now, the reason why I reacted like that is because the press kit that I have didn't actually have the proper adapter to fit within the bearing here to apply pressure to the carrier. Because in order to replace this, you have to press the bearing. It's not super tight, but you do have to press the bearing off of its carrier. And this I want to say it was a 22 impact from like Harbor Freight, actually fit in there perfectly. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set this up to be able to press it out, and then putting it back on there will be a lot easier.
Perfecto, maybe. Yeah, I don't like the way that that's sitting. Stick that on there, stick that down there. It almost come out. Oh wait. Oh, it did come off. It just came out the rest of the way with my hands. 58 works fine. Perfecto. I actually probably don't need this breaker bar. This is a bit cumbersome for what I'm doing at the moment. Yep. Cool. Are we in? We are in. That was easy. I love this press kit. It was definitely worth $200. Even though I've had this thing for like 2 years and have used it twice. Each time I've used it though, I was super happy I had it.
In our case, we're going to put a little bit of the grease that came with the clutch kit on the ears of where the fork touches the carrier for the throwout bearing, in addition to putting that on the spline when we get to that part.
Here's the piece of plastic, but
Now, the part that makes this not so easy is the fact that you can't actually see what you're doing in the back. But essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to put part of the little spring clip that's on the back of the throwout bearing carrier into the fork. So over and like onto the back of the fork so that it's able to actually grip onto the carrier for the throwout bearing. Now, initially I did put the fork in, but then I learned it's easier to do it with everything assembled and then sliding the fork into the transmission and the carrier onto the splines of the transmission.
Push that on there. Perfect. Perfect.
So once we have the throwout bearing installed, the next thing we're going to do is actually remove the engine from the engine stand so that we have the ability to install the flywheel and the clutch. And we also need to install our new spigot bearing that came with the kit as well.
I blew past where I wanted to be. I need my mallet.
Where did I put that mallet?
The wild part is, I fucking.
You know how they test your reflexes at the hospital?
Well, I just smashed my mallet directly into that. Almost fell over. I did fall over.
Kicked yourself in the face.
Huh?
Almost kicked yourself in the face.
There you go. Cool. And we're off.
Alright, so if you'll remember from the unboxing, we have a lightweight flywheel that we have to install on here as well as the ARP hardware. So that's the first thing that we need to get out of the way.
Oh god.
Here's where we would replace our pilot bearing bushing, but I don't have the tool to actually take this out. This is a Sunday and I legitimately got to the store 5 minutes after they closed. So I'm gonna try and do the socket method with grease and some type of binder. My binder is going to be shop towels because I have a shit ton of them. So shop towels, and let's go ahead and grab the grease. And we got some automotive grease. Now, if you ever wondered why this works the way it does, is because essentially you're creating a hydraulic ram. We are packing this full of a non-compressible material and smacking the ever-living crap out of it with a lot of force in a small area. So that's the plan. And the whole point of this is to make sure the grease doesn't just leak past the points that it would get through. Even though now it would have a hard time doing that. Granted, I would still get covered in grease. So that's what we're going to do. What we're going to do here. I'm just going to take a whole bunch of it, stick it on down in there. There you go. Definitely coming out. Just a couple more tries of this and we'll definitely get it out. There we go. We got one out. Now it's just a matter of cleanup, which I'll talk to you in a second. Alright, so now that we have a much cleaner surface to actually work with, we can go ahead and install our flywheel. Now, again, if you haven't seen it, I'll link it up in that corner there. But it's going to be the unboxing of our clutch from UniClutch, as well as our lightweight flywheel from Fidanza. The way that this works is generally, whenever you get a clutch in the mail, it's going to feel so weird not doing this, or whenever you get a flywheel or a clutch in the mail, you want to wipe off the friction surfaces, i.e. this guy and the one that's on the pressure plate. We're not going to be doing that because the clutch isn't actually using this friction surface to, well, work at all. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and line these up, because for some reason that's not going to work. This thing doesn't have any alignment pins. You can see it's just a flat back, and we have a pin right there usually for alignment purposes. I think I might have to straddle this engine, which I definitely don't want to do. I should not be able to touch that.
That didn't really work. I'm gonna try and pull this on with the hardware that we have, which is right here, our flywheel bolt hardware. We got full ARP. So the torque spec for these here are 72 to 80 foot-pounds. So I'm just gonna aim for 76. Let's see if it says it in this thing here. 70 foot-pounds using the specified lubricant. So I'm still gonna aim for 76, but it's cool that they do give us our own torque spec, like our accurate torque spec. And we're just gonna go ahead and lube all these up, put them in, and torque them down. I'm gonna share that with this. Also, don't go crazy with the stuff. You don't want it flinging around. Granted, it's not going to use this friction surface, but it's still grease, so be wary. And star pattern as always. Okay, all done. All done. Now that we got the flywheel on here, all we got to do is mate up the clutch to the flywheel adapter. And once we do that, we'll be able to bolt the whole UniClutch setup here onto the flywheel. But before we do any of that, let's not forget to install our pilot bearing bushing, or our pilot bushing, spigot bearing, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to go ahead and install this with something of similar size, which in my case is going to be my handle from my engine stand. So let's go ahead and get this thing installed. Yeah, that's definitely all the way in there. No, we're going to ignore the fact that I keep dropping stuff because I'm a professional. Ow, shit.
So we're going to go ahead and open the box up here, and we have our envelope that has the QR code to allow us to download the installation instructions. Now, I already have mine that UniClutch already supplies to you whenever you purchase the clutch in an email. However, just for demonstration purposes, if you aren't able to get to that email, this is what you're going to do. You go ahead, you scan this QR code, and it's going to take you to UniClutch's website, in which case you're going to want to scroll down, put in your vehicle information, and then select the clutch that you purchased, as well as the installation method as far as OE or aftermarket flywheel. Now, I did go over this in the unboxing, but we're going to be selecting the OE flywheel, and then it will give us our personalized guide for our installation on the 300ZX.
All right, so according to our guide, we are going to be using the 1mm spacers, and we're going to be using the bolt holes F or G, depending on our dowel position. So I think I remember correctly when I tried this out before, it was G, but we'll figure that out. And basically, we're just going to use our clutch pressure plate bolts that we got from ARP to go ahead and fill in all those other spots. And we got this guy here, which is telling us to use the Loctite. We have to add the Loctite, and we're going to go ahead and torque that down to 22 foot-pounds as well. And do not use pneumatic tools. I mean, obviously, whenever you're torquing stuff, you don't want to use pneumatic tools. But these are going to be the bolts that we're going to use to attach all that. These are our 1mm spacers that we have to put in there as well. Does this tell us? So this doesn't tell us where we put this. Oh no, it does tell you where we put the spacers. So the washers must go between the flywheel mount and the flywheel.
So just to interject here really quickly, I ended up running into a bit of an issue with this here, and that's mainly because there was a contradiction within the literature. Now, it says right there, clear as day on that pamphlet, that it goes between the flywheel mount and the flywheel. However, in the actual installation guide for the Z, it shows it go between the flywheel mount and UniClutch core, which is what they're calling the clutch pack. And the only reason why I know that is because of the hardware that it shows. It shows countersunk hardware, and the only hardware this comes with is the hardware for you to mount the flywheel adapter to the core. So, unfortunately, I had to undo all of this and then redo it, which you'll see here in a few minutes.
So yeah, there you go. Let's go ahead and wait. I was reading that wrong for a second. Alright, I forget which one we have, which we can easily go and test out on our flywheel. This is the one that we're going to be going with. I'm going to go ahead and grab this hardware. Already has Loctite on it, which is great. It's saying to add Loctite 243, but there's already Loctite on these bolts. So I don't think I need to add it, but that's really confusing, especially since there's no Loctite in here unless it's in the other box. I honestly, I don't remember. And we're gonna use this. Let's go ahead and grab this kit out of here so we don't have to come back in this box again. And grab the wheel, because this is needed. Alrighty. Here we go with the clutch. The way this works is like this, but I need to take this clutch out of here. So we're gonna do this on top of the box then. And these are all 5mm islands. 22 is what we're set to, and we're gonna go in a star pattern, as per usual. Is this actually, this is about to round this off, because this is starting to round off, and I don't know why. Especially off of 22 foot-pounds, which is not a lot. Alright. That might have been a fluke. I hope it was a fluke. Because if it wasn't, that is problematic, to say the least. Yeah, this one's rounding off too. That is annoying. Maybe they're meant to do that, so you can't take it off again. I don't know. That's done. The very last one torqued. We're gonna go ahead and register this thing before we install it. That way we get our warranty. And we can go ahead and install this on the flywheel. All right, so now that we got this thing registered, we need to put in the correct spline, which according to this guy here, is gonna be with the snap ring going towards the back, because you can see there's the hardware for the front. Hello? Cool. Thank you. Alright, just a little tiny bit of force, and it went in. I have kind of a sordid history with snap rings, to the point where I bought a super beefy, robust, absolutely mint snap ring pliers set. Unfortunately, all my snap ring plier sets don't have this small a diameter hole. So this is going to be a fun experience, and I'm going to try and put this in here with a pick, because I don't have the appropriate pliers. I never seem to. So cue a montage of maybe an hour and a half of me trying to get this thing in here. Yay, there's the first pop out. No fucking shot. That went in so easily. Oh, thank God. I'm so happy I don't have to fight with this thing again. Oh, thank you. Thank you so very much. 10 out of 10 product. All right, let's install this thing. So already got the dowels in there. We're using G. Go ahead and get this thing lined up. These dowels are asymmetrical. They're gonna go in there like that. Got a 1mm spacer that I need to put in here. Yep, slid all the way through. Okay, off you come. Like that's fucking crazy. So not me realizing that these washers are not for here, they are for the clutch itself. So I need to actually pull the clutch off, and hopefully I'll be able to get the hardware out, because it started to round out. So this is going to be an interesting next couple of minutes. I can say that for sure. For absolute sure. I'm going to not catch that apparently. All right, now that this is properly done and retorqued, surprisingly, I'm gonna go ahead and put this on here again. There we go. Now we just need to put on all of these bolts here and torque them down to 19 foot-pounds. And now that this is done, now comes the arduous task of putting this engine back in the car. I'm looking forward to All right, so now that I've gotten most of the bolts tightened up, I can go ahead and let the tension off of this because the bottom bolts are tight and the top ones are also locked in. That means it should have pulled itself down in, which it did. There is no gap there, or let's go ahead and check the bottom. The bottom's nice and clear of a gap too. Look at that. Now I will say, did kind of drop the ball on this just a little bit. I forgot to put in this guy, little stiffening plate. Yeah, I don't know. So now that we got this tightened up, not fully snugged down, let me get all the bolts snugged down, actually. Let's go ahead and see what this pedal feels like. So, now you can see down here. Let's go ahead and, oh, okay. It's actually lighter than stock. So the engagement is still not great, but I mean, that's more of an issue with the slave cylinder and the fork than anything else. Yeah, that's 50%. So this clutch feels good though, as far as the pedal feel. So that's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. All right. I'm definitely looking forward to see how this is gonna feel on the road. But yeah, if you haven't already, please do hit the like button down below. It helps out with these videos quite a bit. Big shout out to UniClutch for helping out with the discount to actually get the clutch for Miso. And the video, as far as like what the clutch actually performs like, should be coming out a little bit after I get the car tuned, because I want to actually get a good tune on the car before I try to accurately judge what the clutch is like. But yeah, this is a super dope product, and hopefully the clutch performs as well as I'm expecting. But as always, I want to thank you again for watching. Peace out, and I'll see you in the next one.
I recall Central Park and fall. Not the shame.